This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with not the Mark Weber.
Dub me.
Not the Mark Weber.
Dub
Here
me
with
still.
Sean Anderson. How you doing today, Sean?
I still have 2 E's in my name, so Dub me. I'm great.
You do? Do you have two? Oh, that's right. You have
Sean.
one in Sean and one in Anderson. I never
Dirt.
thought about that. I never thought that you had 2 E's, so you could
I
also
said that
dub
before
those
on this
E's.
podcast, so you have a terrible memory.
Well, it's been forever since you've been on the Onside Kick.
Very
just
true.
Me and you. But the one thing that I do bring up into my mind because of that is there are a few people on Twitter that they'll tweet at me, easy, it's just my name. When they tweet at Mark, they just do the Mark Weber, and it's some random guy in Milwaukee. Just some random guy in Milwaukee is
awesome.
getting all these mentions.
It's like John Jones.
Yes.
There's an English John Jones, and there's John Bones Jones, and people who, when John Jones tested positive in the UFC, people were always tweeting like hate stuff at him. He's like, I'm just a graphic designer in England.
It's just like I think there's this Fox reporter somewhere that his name is Chris Conti. So that cannot be
No.
that was not a good time for him when people were telling Chris Conti to basically go kill himself because everyone hated Chris Conti.
It's bad safety.
Yeah, really bad safety. But welcome into the Onside Kick. This is where we talk about football news, not really. I always say analysis, but I think we don't really analyze. We just kind of give our opinion on the news. And
We also don't know words because analyze.
Analyze. We don't really dive into the film, but we talk about the big news in football for the week. We got a wide receiver show today. Wide receiver and a quarterback. Talking about Odell Beckham, Giants. Could they be trading for a #1 overall pick using their wide receiver?
Well, also a quarterback who could be a wide receiver.
Yeah, quarterback who could be so it could be a wide receiver.
Stick with wide
show.
receivers.
Then we got Dez Bryant. What's his future like in Dallas? And then we're looking at Lamar Jackson, best fits for him in the NFL. Before we get into everything, though, quick housekeeping. #1, you want to help support us, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That link down below in the description. You want to get an MVP shirt, that store also down below in the description. You want to catch everything for MVP, just go to mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where it all goes. You can check it out there. And then last but not least, give the Onside Kick a 5-star rating on iTunes. While you're there, just give all the MVP podcasts 5-star ratings because we all deserve it. Let's be honest. All the podcasts really
100%.
deserve it. And then if you're a Chicago sports fan, go and check out The Outcast, our newest podcast here on MVP.
Is that 5
I think
things?
that's it. I think that's all the 5 things that I
those
have.
5 things.
The only other thing that I kind of mention every once in a while, if you're listening not on YouTube, go ahead and go over to YouTube. Give us that sub, even if you're never going to watch a YouTube video, because it helps us out.
10.1K.
Yeah,
You guys are helping us
10.1K.
grow.
We are growing quick and on the up and up, and I hope it continues. I hope it just keeps going, just
We
like
will.
rapid fire, just up and up. But let's jump into this. And this first story is kind of a combining of two, because let's be honest, we could have had are the Giants going to trade Odell Beckham? Then have another topic of are they going to trade for the #1 overall pick? But in my mind, Sean, I've come up with an idea. Don't know if it's going to happen. Probably won't happen.
Tinfoil,
but
Ricky.
There's 2 stories here. There's the first of Odell Beckham. Do they trade him? Do the Giants trade Odell Beckham? Then there's another story that came out the end of last week of apparently the Giants love Sam Darnold. They would love to move up to #1 to make sure they can get Sam Darnold because the Browns, let's be honest, they go quarterback at 1. They'll probably go Darnold, even though they like Josh Allen overall. I'm going to ask you this. What are the odds that Odell gets traded in a deal for the first? How I'm mapping it out is it would be Odell and this year's second to the Browns for the first overall pick this year and the Browns' first rounder next year.
I think you got to balance that out a little bit. So the Browns are trading away their #1 overall pick.
You're
and not,
swapping picks. You're basically swapping 1 and 2s, and then it's Odell for next year's first.
All right. I mean, the trade, at least the way you laid it out, isn't terrible. The chances of it happening, though, I think are very slim. I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly, personally don't think Odell Beckham's going to be moved.
I think he's just going to be a Giant for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out in free agency what he does?
Well, they're going to have to somehow get him on the field at some point. And, they can't just let Odell Beckham not touch the field. And he said that he's not going to play unless he got a contract extension.
Yeah.
So they obviously have to work that out. I think they're keeping their mind open. Obviously, new GM, new front office. They want to make sure they're looking at every single possibility available. But I think in the end, the talent of Odell Beckham will not be enough from any team to match. So I think that's going to be the biggest problem, is that they're not going to be able to match what Odell wants. And I think, with Cleveland, I don't think they want to switch the 1-2. I think they want to make sure they get their quarterback, because at some point, you look at this, is Odell enough to, possibly let the quarterback that you want slip away? And with Cleveland, I don't think it's worth it, because, Odell Beckham, he might not be there next year if you're not able to lock him up. And then also, it's going to be a lot of cap into Odell Beckham. He just got hurt. He's also has a very big, personality off the field. He's, obviously we've seen him on the sidelines. We've seen him off the field as well. There's that video. We don't know if it's drugs or whatever, but still, he's a very big name. He's a big personality. We know these wide receivers can really develop a big ego. So I don't know if all that's really going to play out to make this deal happen.
Well, and the thing that I think of, and I was thinking about this coming in, and really this is going to also bleed over into the Dez Bryant discussion also, is in today's NFL, if your highest paid player is a wide receiver, in my mind, your team's in rough shape, because realistically, your highest paid player should be the quarterback. That's the guy who should be getting most of your money. And for me, the Giants, it's a sticky situation, because if you're going to trade Odell Beckham, the type of receiver that he can be when he's on the field, you don't want to give him to an NFC team, because like NFC East is out of the question. You see them twice a year. NFC to me is out of the question, because you don't even want to see him at all. And then it's like AFC, it's like, well, yeah, do we really want to give someone a leg up? That's why for me, the whole Brown deal is the Giants would be getting their guy, basically putting Eli on the clock, as if they get Sam Darnold. It's like, all right, Eli, you're on the clock. You also give Pat Shurmur the guy that he wants. If the Giants want him, Pat Shurmur probably wants him to work with. And to me, the Browns would be a great spot on the Giants side of, like, if they're going to trade him, the Browns would be a great team to give him to, because it's like, you know what? If he helps them win, okay, they make the playoffs. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. And he's not going to hurt us or have any chance of hurting us in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with the whole center of the AFC thing. You don't want to be facing them, once a year or possibly twice a year if you're going to the playoffs and matching up with, again, I mean, like, at worst, you're going to see Odell Beckham 3 times a year if you get him to the NFC East. But I think really it's going to be an AFC team that picks him up if they do. Again, I don't think it's going to happen just because, his talent is so big. I mean, this is the guy that came in and just started blowing up the NFL. And what he did in his rookie season was
best
unreal.
Best receiver in football? Is that what we're going to say? Or do you think there's a best receiver?
Antonio Brown.
Okay.
And I would probably put Odell at 3 maybe with behind Julio.
So top 3, top 5.
Yeah, I mean he's a if he's the wide receiver on your team, he's
number 1.
Yeah, I mean there's no question the talent on his side. Really, you got to question how he's going to come back from the injury. But without a doubt, he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's just really, what do you value? But you look at what he's been able to do throughout his career, and what he can bring to a team. It's just the fact, and I think you brought this up. You don't want your best, your most played player being your wide receiver. You look at the Patriots. I mean, at some point, Tom Brady wasn't the highest paid player on the team, but right now, Tom Brady still has the largest cap hit on that team. The Steelers right now, Big Ben is still the largest cap on that team. You can have great wide receivers, but you need to invest into a quarterback. And right now, the Giants don't have that quarterback, and the Browns don't have that quarterback. So on the Giants side, I kind of see the idea of, let's package Odell and get the quarterback that we want for our future. But if I'm the Browns, you don't really need Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to help your team, but if you have a guy that can't throw the ball to him, then you're screwed. I mean, you're just wasting Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Josh Gordon, all these weapons that you have, even Saquon if they take him at 4, you're just wasting those weapons away if you don't have a guy that can get him the ball. And I know people will say they have Tyrod Taylor for a year, but Tyrod Taylor isn't a franchise quarterback. You need somebody in Cleveland that is going to be able to heal the long wounds that have been left from, just terrible teams in Cleveland. You need a guy that's going to be there for 10 years. You need a guy that's really going to be a franchise quarterback. And Odell, he might be there for a couple of years, but we don't really know when wide receivers are going to fall off, especially with how hard people can hit these days.
And the good thing is there's 2 things. First off, there's an article that I'm looking at ESPN.com where it's basically the price. What are you going to get for Odell? And they kind of list them. The first one they call the Brandon Marshall comp, which is 2 second-round picks. You're not going to get just 2 second-round picks for Odell. Then they have they call it the Marcus Peters precedent, the 4th and a 2nd-round pick. And then they have the dream scenario. And this is the one, if Odell is getting traded, this is what they are getting in my mind, 2 first-round picks. They are getting a pick this year. They are getting a pick next year. Or if they trade him next year, it's okay, we want to pick 2019 and 2020 in the first round. Good thing for the Giants, though, is there's 4 teams out of the top 5 cap salaries just for this year who could use a wide receiver and could have a high pick. One we already talked about, the Browns. The second, so the Browns have about $70.6 million in cap right now.
Yeah.
According to Spot Rack. Colts are right behind them at 61.3. They don't need a wide receiver, but if you're going to give me Odell Beckham for Andrew Luck to throw to, sure, go ahead.
Well, and I think they only made like 3 free agent signings so far. Like, they've been very quiet on the free agent end.
The 49ers, who, they just went out and paid Jimmy Garoppolo, but they didn't get any of the big wide receivers. Allen Robinson, they didn't get like a Torrey Smith to get traded over there. They could go and trade for Odell. And then the Tennessee Titans at 46 and 45 million are where the 49ers and the Titans are. So here's what I want to ask you. If there's a team that's going to trade for Odell and at least pick up that phone, which team is it going to be that calls the Giants and says, hey, what's it going to take to get Odell in our jersey?
Every team's probably making that call just to see, but I think if we're talking about teams that could actually do that, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be a team with cap that's going to be able to extend them.
Even the Philadelphia Eagles with $3.4 million in cap space right now?
I think they're okay. I think they wouldn't be doing their due diligence not to make the call, but I think that call's going to be very short, especially when they say, hey, it's the Eagles.
No, I will give you Nick Foles for Odell Beckham straight up.
Yeah, when Howie calls New York, I think that's going to be a short phone call. But again, I think most teams are going to be calling the Giants and just saying, hey, what do you want from them? Ultimately, I think it's got to be a team with cap. I think the most interesting one you threw out there, the 2 at least, are going to be the Colts and the Niners, just because they don't have I don't want to say T.Y. Hilton is a number one wideout. But
could you imagine T.Y. with Odell on the same team?
It would be disgusting. And the thing is, Odell would become the number 1. And we know how much Andrew Luck has loved T.Y. Hilton as a downfield threat. Odell is a monster on the outside as well. I mean, pairing those two,
have 2 number 1s.
Well, and exactly. And you're making Andrew Luck's job easier. But you look at the Colts, their biggest need right now is the offensive line. Yeah. And they need that first round pick to be able to try to get a guy like Quentin Nelson to really bolster and protect Andrew Luck. So I think it comes down to probably the San Francisco 49ers are probably the clearest team that might throw something at the New York Giants to get Odell Beckham Jr. But then again, they need a lot of defensive help, and if Jimmy can put up numbers with Odell Beckham, are they going to be able to stop anyone on the other end? So like it's a tough balance of again, there's so much talent on Odell's side. And he's worth the contract that you're going to give him, but it needs to be the right fit where you have that franchise quarterback in place and you don't have any apparent needs. Like, you need that one more piece to put you over. And I think the 49ers and the Colts are much more than one piece away, pretty much.
The most interesting part about it is, when it comes to the Niners, to me, while you're talking, is whenever you listen to Draft Talk, and I'm kind of getting into this circle of belief of, I think when we get to the 9th overall pick and the Niners are there, it's going to be like, all right, Denzel Ward's not there. Tremaine Edmonds is not there. The guys that we were going to want are not there.
Fitzpatrick.
Let's trade back anyway. So it's the belief of like, a Bills are going to move up to 9 to try to grab a quarterback. A Cardinals are going to try to trade up. So for me, if you're the Niners, even if you have to give up that 9th overall pick for Odell, if you have to give up the 9th and next year's first, you get Odell, who's obviously worth a first-round pick, and then kind of, if you can weasel out maybe a second this year or a third, probably the second would be where I would be going. That would almost be more of a sure thing than, hey, we'll take your first this year for Buffalo and a second.
But let's look at the moves that John Lynch has made so far. They've been pretty calculated moves. He got Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick.
He's been a phenomenal GM so far.
The Bears trade, where the Bears moved up and swapped picks with the Niners and moved down. He's trying to build a team. He's trying to get as many picks as possible to make sure that he has the most abilities, the most possible chance to hit. And you look at the cap situation, that's going to stay fairly low because he's consistently drafting guys, and not all those guys are going to pan out and deserve a big contract. So with the 49ers and the moves that they've been making, I wouldn't be shocked if they, went out and tried to get Odell Beckham Jr., but I think it's got to be for the right price. And giving up a 9, especially if you're able to move down, I feel like John Lynch would probably be more of a savvy GM if he wanted to move down and then possibly try to pair some of those future picks to then get Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think he's going to give up that 9th pick just for Odell and then possibly even futures if we're talking about 2 firsts. I think that's too high of a price tag for Odell Beckham Jr. for a team to really splash on. Again, I'm not saying he's not worth it, but I think right now, with the way that the NFL is structured, you need a great quarterback, and then you need to be able to help him with that defense. And right now, the Niners don't have a great defense. And I think if you're able to at least get maybe 2 first-round picks or 2 a first and a second, and be able to slide back a little bit, and the Bills or Cardinals move up, that's going to be something that's going to be more beneficial to your team than getting a guy like Odell Beckham Jr.
Well, and I mean, with the Niners, too, an interesting thing with them is they didn't have anyone come over to them this year because it's like, all right, you got Jimmy Garoppolo. Woo, you haven't lost a game with them. But what's it going to be like in a 16-game season? This is going to be really the show-me season for them to where next year they're trying to ball out and get those free agents because it's like, oh, look at what we have now. Jimmy Garoppolo in a full season. And he's locked down, guys. Come on over. So I'm trying to look for next year's, no, not this year's, because Sammy Watkins came up. Like, no, he just got signed to a 3-year deal. So a Jarvis Landry could possibility, the Randall Cobbs, the Brandon Marshalls, the Golden Tates, Ryan Grants could be trying to come over. None of those are sexy names. None of those
I like
are
the Golden
Odell.
Tate one, but
yeah, but none of them are like Odell.
No, they're not top 10 wide receivers.
And for the Giants, working a deal with the Niners, that'd be great. You're telling me I can get my quarterback at 2, the guy that I'd want, or Saquon at 2, and then at 9, if I really wanted to, I could get a wide receiver like Calvin Ridley to basically fill the hole of Odell. So for them, it makes sense. But like you said, for the Niners, would that trade really make sense because of you're kind of giving up, not too much, but you're giving up a little bit of the farm to bank in Odell.
But one thing with the Giants, and let's talk a little bit about them, because the one thing that I've heard, and one thing after the JPP move that they made, I heard that they even might want to move down because they don't need a quarterback. Like they've said that they're committed to Eli.
Like they could move down with like the Cardinals, the Bills. Yeah. They could do that as well.
So that's the thing is, while they might be moving Odell, it doesn't mean they're not going to look to also move back because they might, again, just be trying to accumulate picks and helping this team out.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. You are now the GM of the Giants.
Congrats.
What would you rather, congrats. What would you rather do? Try to work a deal to trade up for that number 1 to get Sam Darnold, the guy who apparently, according to Canty, the Giants really love, or would you say, you know what, I'm not going to try to give up too much for that. Let's move back and work with a team like the Cardinals or the Bills.
I'm always in the mindset, because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say this, because I said the same thing about the Bears and Trubisky last year. If you love your guy, go and get him, because that's your franchise. That's what you're going to be built around. So if the Giants made the move to go up and secure Sam Darnold for their team, I couldn't blame them, but I don't think that is the necessary need right now for them, because it's not a given that this team's going to be great next year. Like, if they make all the draft picks and selections, if they get Saquon at 2 or Quentin Nelson at 2, whoever they pick at 2, it doesn't make that team a playoff team. Yeah. It doesn't make that team, an 8-win team or something like that.
Even if they draft, I don't know if you just said this, if they draft Sam Darnold, it doesn't make them a playoff team because Eli's going to be the starter.
That's the thing, is that they've committed to Eli. So, and at some point, and then it's going to create all this QB drama of, if Eli starts throwing picks, which Eli has done before in his career.
We want Darnold.
Exactly. So it's just something that could be very toxic. So unless you are loving a guy and you're committed to him, I would say it's not worth it. And looking at the Giants, again, you might be in the same position next year or 2 years where you're still in the top 2 being able to draft another quarterback. So if you're committed to Eli for the next 2 years, then I feel like it's not a pressing need right now to go out and get a quarterback of the future, because at some point you're going to be still looking for a quarterback of the future, whether next year or the year after. So why don't you get a guy like Quentin Nelson who could protect that quarterback of the future in the upcoming years? Why don't you get a guy in Saquon Barkley who can be a great pair to a rookie quarterback and really help him when he's struggling and needs some offense, to start moving the ball a little bit when he's not able to do so. So I think that with the Giants, I don't think it's a pressing need to move up. If you are lucky and Darnold falls to it too, take them.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary to sell the farm and try to move up or possibly get rid of Odell where you can move him in a different spot and get more picks. to really just go up and get Darnold. So I feel like the love, if it's there, the love is great. Go and get him. But I don't think the need is technically there for the Giants if they're coming out and saying they're committed to Eli for the next 2 years. So I don't think the need is there to really warrant the love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if I'm the Giants, I only trade down if the Browns take. Like, if we get to draft night while Johnny and I are seeing Avengers and the Browns take
and Dave
Sam
and I are
Darnold
live streaming.
Dave and you are live streaming the draft. If the Browns say, we're going to select Sam Darnold, then I'm the Giants going, give me that phone. Give me that phone. We're making calls. Get me the Cardinals. Get me the Bills. We're not making this pick because, to me, you don't need it. Right when they made the JPP trade, my immediate thought was, I'm sorry, Colts, Bradley Chubb is a Giant.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to take Bradley Chubb because they just got rid of a pass rusher. Yeah. They can take one there at 2. But really, you can trade with the Cardinals, have a possibility of, like, Marcus Davenport could still be there. You could trade with the Bills at 12. Marcus Davenport could still be there to where you can get that pass rusher at 12, not have to take Bradley Chubb at 2, and you can get more picks from the Bills. However, what are the Browns going to do? That's the big thing in this is we don't know what the Browns are going to do. Are they going to take a Saquon? Are they going to take a Sam Darnold? Are the Browns just going to say, fuck it, we love our guy. We like Josh Allen. We're going to take Josh Allen number 1 overall.
That's what they need to do. Like when you guys, I love you and Mark, and you guys do a great job in your mocks. But when I saw Saquon number 1 from both of you going number 1, I was just like, no. I was trying to rip my hair out because that'd be such a Browns move.
The reason
there's only real quick. There's 3 quarterbacks that everybody thinks that could be top 5 picks, and the Browns are there at number 1. You have the choice of any of them. What do? We go with running back.
Well, the reason why in my mock I did that was I'm in the thought of, if you said, Ricky, I'm going to give you one of the top 4 quarterbacks at random, and you'd stuck with them, I'd be like, fine. Like, give me Darnold, give me Allen, give me Mayfield, give me Rosen. I'll make it work. That's the only reason, like I get they got Carlos Hyde. I like Saquon if you can get a quarterback at 4. However, with everything that's going on now, Jets moving up, Giants could trade down, I don't think Saquon's going to be number 1.
Well, they're not going to be number 1, but also what you were saying, it's like you can make it work, but it's also the Browns. Like everything that the Browns try to do just goes wrong for them.
Yeah.
So if you love a guy,
in 2 years.
If you love a guy, just go and get him.
Just take him.
Just take him. Don't think about who's going to be there for. Take the guy that's going to possibly be there for the next 15 years in a Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. Even if people are going to hate the pick, if they don't believe in Josh Allen, like I don't believe in Josh Allen, if you believe in Josh Allen, commit to it. Go number 1 and take him. Don't trade for Odell Beckham Jr. You have Josh Gordon. You have Jarvis Landry. You can get wide receivers late in the. You also have Corey Coleman as well.
Yeah.
You also have you have the ability to get other wide receivers. You have a number 1 in Jarvis Landry. You have a possible number 1 as well in Josh Gordon. He just hasn't had a quarterback in 3 years to either throw to him or he's never been on the field.
He's kind of got one now in Tyrod.
Yeah. So I mean, and you also have that safety blanket of Tyrod, but that safety blanket's only going to be there for a year because you're not going to pay Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, you could try to get him on a 1-year deal if you really wanted to.
But I'd see if with Tyrod being 28, I feel like Tyrod's looking for a longer deal. So if he's going to get a longer deal for possibly a little less money, I feel like he's probably going to take that because it's at least going to be more guaranteed money. So if I'm the Browns, if I love a guy, I'm taking him at 1 because you need a quarterback. You need to stop adding names to that jersey
and
list.
The thing with the Browns that I think will be hard for them to take, let's say Josh Allen is the guy that they love. The thing that's going to make it hard for them to make that pick at number 1 is how many people have you heard say, well, he's going to need a year or 2. Well, you only got, like you said, you only got Tyrod for 1 year. Yeah, depending on how things progress, but look at, like, I know Deshaun Kaiser's not in the same bracket as Josh Allen, but look at how they handled Deshaun Kaiser. Oh, we put him on the fast track, and now he's in Green Bay. Where Josh Allen, to me, it always made sense if he's going to go to a team, go to, like, a New York. Then Eli's not under pressure for at least 2 years. When his contract's up then you can just say, all right, Eli, it's been a great time. You think you're going to retire? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Or are you going to Brett Favre it on us and go somewhere else? Like, and then it's Eli's decision at that point where, all right, we're moving on with Allen. We've had him for 2 years. This is year 3 of his contract. But with the Giants, with the Browns, I think Sam Darnold's going to be the number 1 overall pick no matter what.
Yeah,
because the Browns are either going to have to go, well, we like Allen, but we can't fuck this up. We can't, like you said, we can't add more and more names to that list. Give me your top 2. When we get to the draft, what do you think will be the first 2 names off the board, and will it be Browns, Giants?
I think it's gonna be Browns. I think it's gonna be Browns number 1. If it's not quarterback, I'm throwing something through Dave's window. I think ultimately it will probably be Sam Darnold because at his pro day he's been impressive. I know he didn't throw at the combine, but yeah, even that he was thrown in pretty decent. I mean, he was thrown in cloudy weather, but then it hit the rain and he still looked great. And I think again, you look at the ability. The negative side of him is just turning the ball over, and I would rather have a great athlete who's turning the ball over as long as he can win me games late. And he's proven that at USC that he can win games for his team. And he didn't have that great of a team this year and still willed them to a pretty decent record this year in Southern California. So I think that Sam Darnold's going to be the number 1 pick and Cleveland Browns are going to take him. The 2 is going to be interesting because I feel like the Giants should trade down because even though they love a quarterback, even if it's Darnold, I don't think the need is really warranted. To go out and get a second-year quarterback, especially a guy like Darnold who's nearly pro-ready. So I would say it's tough about what team is going to make that move. But looking at the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals, with the defense that they have, having Fitz, having more of an accelerated clock, I think that they might trade up to 2 and then either take Allen or Rosen. I like Rosen. I like Rosen better as a prospect, so I would probably say Rosen at 2. So Browns go 1 with Darnold, 2. Cardinals trade up and go with Allen at 2. Or Rosen at 2, I'm sorry.
I want chaos in general, so I want as many trades as possible. But how I see it going is the Browns will stay at 1. They will take Sam Darnold. Number 2, I think the Giants at the moment stay at 2 and will either go Nelson or Chubb. Whatever they value more. If it's Nelson or Chubb, I would pick Chubb before Nelson because I'd rather have that pass rush. Plus, I can get an offensive lineman later in the draft.
I'd go Nelson though because
you got to protect
from
Eli.
what we've seen, what we've heard. This guy's a can't miss.
Yeah.
So it's like even though the offensive line isn't great in New York, but adding a guy like Quentin Nelson can really just change it. And just especially if you're going to go with a quarterback either in the second round or you're going to go next year or the next 2 years, like you need a guy to be able to protect him. Quentin Nelson could be a guy on your line for the next 10 years.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below about the Odell Beckham thing. Where will he be traded? Will he be traded? What's going to happen with Odell? And then also, what's going to happen with the draft?
I don't think you answered. Is he going to be traded?
No. He's going to stay all the way to the end of the year, and we'll see what happens in free agency. But let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section.